America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. You may be seated.
Well, not yet.
All right, just so everyone's aware, this meeting is recorded on video and taped. There are no public hearings today. There are no old business, anything for old business on the agenda. We do have new business. The first item on the agenda is approval of the August 23rd, 2017 minutes.
Madam Chairman, at this time I would like to make a motion to amend the current agenda to include the first item, which would be a discussion of the chairmanship of this board.
Second.
So moved.
As part of that initial item, I would like to make a motion that the Commissioner Cafferlin become chairman of this board and that Commissioner Morrison become vice chair of this board.
I'd be honored if you seconded that. I'll second.
Any comments?
Obviously, there's been enough discussed about this in the newspaper, I think, so I'm not going to talk at length about it. In fact, I think that I've said enough already. I've made my case for the change in leadership in this board. I think it's time. I think it'll be a welcome change for the community. I think that it'll allow the Commissioner's office to function more efficiently, produce more, and create better results for the community. So that's all I have to say at this time.
Commissioner Cafferlin.
Thank you. First of all, I think that this is the best route given 4 options, I suppose. So I thank you for the nomination, Commissioner Eggleston. I'll lead with or without the title. The reason that I accept the nomination is because I think we need to restore decorum and civility in these meetings, and that is the chair's responsibility, and I feel that I am capable of doing that.
Are you finished? Okay. I would like to read a statement that I prepared, knowing that this was coming. It's unfortunate that Eggleston has decided to criticize the amount of work I've been doing as a commissioner, even going so far as to develop a means to track me, the Cindy Tracker. I want the citizens to know I am completely devoted to this job. I put in countless hours every week, not only at the courthouse, but more importantly, outside the courthouse. I regularly meet with employees, especially our top-level directors, with people from agencies the county deals with constituents addressing their concerns. There are many nights every week, which include weekends, that I am up late on the phone doing county business. I don't criticize how my fellow commissioners do their jobs, and they need to be willing to recognize there is more than one way to do your job as a commissioner. There have been countless times that I am at the courthouse working, and neither Jeff nor Ben are found anywhere. But I don't automatically assume that they are not working. People may forget how Dr. David K. Rice used to maintain a full veterinary practice while he was chairman of the board of the commissioners, a position he held for 20 years. In today's world, it is just not necessary to sit behind a desk in an office to do your job. I am at the courthouse. I am at our meetings. However, I also do perform work outside of the office, and there is nothing wrong with doing that. But it is wrong that there are ongoing problems of my fellow commissioners meeting privately to discuss county business without me. This is outside of public meetings and violates the Sunshine Law. I have tried to point this out, and the newspaper has actually backed me up on this point. If Eggleston refers to this as a bullying because I have called him out on this, and other important issues as well? I'm sorry, but these issues should be addressed, and they should be discussed in public. There are 3 commissioners, and when we do county work, it needs to be done together. It's pretty simple, and it's what our laws require. I'm not going into a lot of detail at this time of what has been said and done because it's just political arguing. What is going on here is not good for our county, and it is not constructive. As a matter of fact, Commissioner Eggleston, I believe you owe my entire family and the entire Blick family an apology. You have known for months that my daughter was getting married this past weekend. I confirmed with our chief clerk that you and Commissioner Kaplan were aware I would be away from the office the week of the wedding. There was absolutely no reason to make this a big political issue at this particular time. But you chose to do that anyway. You knew when you notified me just 1 hour before our work session last Monday that I was not going to be there. You knew. You knew I was getting ready for my daughter's wedding that was to take place on our family property. You knew that this would be spilled all over the newspaper last week and that my family would be dealing with this at the very same time that we were supposed to be getting ready for my daughter's wedding. So now, as part of the memories of 2 beautiful young people and both of their families, they will forever remember this episode. Shame on you. I believe you owe everyone from both families a sincere apology. I have had many staff members and tenured directors come to me expressing concerns that their jobs are in jeopardy, not due to their job performance, but due to disagreeing with Jeff and Ben on just routine matters. I have evidence that will back up what I am saying. There have been what is essentially a gag order given to a staffer to prevent them from expressing their opinions, to prevent candid comments of advice, or even to prevent the staff member from offering constructive criticisms. Staff has expressed feelings of being threatened, demeaned, and bullied while offering opinions on any matter by the other 2 commissioners. I would like to address a few of the statements being made about me by Eggleston. He states that there have been holdups in securing contract signatures, addressing constituent concerns, sharing information with the public, an unfocused agenda, and an inability to move quickly to address problems due to the lack of my involvement. I spoke at length with our chief clerk yesterday about these accusations. His statements not only confuse her, but they certainly confuse me. When I asked her to identify any perceived holdups on anything at all that I am directly responsible for, her answer was that there have not been any. I take my position as commissioner very seriously, and I continually check in with Pam to see if there is anything for me to review or needing my signature. On the other hand, Jeff oftentimes is the last commissioner to sign paperwork and needs to be reminded. Have I ever taken issue with him regarding this lack of efficiency? Absolutely not. That's ridiculous. If you were to look through county paperwork, contracts, proclamations, resolutions, agreements, purchase orders approvals, etc., etc., you will find that my signature is there 9 times out of 10. If you were to review minutes from our many public meetings, you will find I am present and accounted for. Do I miss a meeting every now and again? Of course I do, but so do they, and there's reasons for that. Am I late or leave early for meetings? Yes, for good reasons. as do they. As far as I haven't initiated anything, I have brought up initiatives. Our role as commissioners isn't about bringing up projects. It is about working together as a team. That has never happened. It isn't about keeping track. It's about working as a team. We don't define the chairmanship role by who has done more things. That is a ridiculous argument. The precedence has always been the candidate receiving the most votes is appointed the chairman. If you wish to be the chair, my advice would be to become the top vote getter in the next election. I am a strong woman, fully intending to continue working as the county commissioner chair, as the people have elected me to do so, and I will not be silenced. If 2 commissioners choose to remove me as chair, they do so in the defiance of the voters' wishes. I'll call the question.
I'd like to make a statement at this time. This meeting is obviously going to be longer than I thought it would be. I don't know where to begin, but I'll just start with what I probably would have said anyway. There have been a lot of accusations in response to my statements since I started over a week ago talking about this subject. People have said that I was trying to make a power play, that I wanted to be chairman, that this was a personal matter, that that it's a conspiracy between me and Catherine or me and somebody else, and made a laundry list of accusations against me in response to this. I can say without a doubt that that's completely false. My intention here is in respect to the taxpayers of this county. I knew that this meeting and the various responses to it would be about all these little things that I did or might have happened or could have happened, or there might have been a conversation here and there. The fundamental fact is that Commissioner Morrison has been working an average of 7 hours a week. It's not bull. It's not bull, David. It's true, okay? There are weeks that she works 1 or 2, maybe 3 hours where she's in the office, okay? This is documented, okay?
That's not the only type of work you do in that office, Jeff. You know that.
If there was anything else
I
that
was
was...
there. You know that.
I'd like to refrain from the public commenting at this time and allow Commissioner Eggleston to have his say.
Thank you. Anybody can dispute it and say that that I can be called, that I can be away from the office, whatever. I understand that, okay? My question to everybody, or to anybody that's tried to challenge me on this issue, is do you personally feel that it's okay for someone to make $60,000 a year working for the county and work fewer than 10 hours a week? That's my question, okay? And if she was the minority commissioner and didn't have a real impact on the business conducted here, I wouldn't be making this argument, but she's the chairperson. As a result, she takes phone calls from every agency, that wants to talk to the county. Most of the people that don't know anything about the business that goes on here wants to talk to the chairperson. And when they're not involved in the day-to-day operations of our facilities, our organization, it causes major problems. It does. That's a fact, okay? Now, the other question that I always ask somebody is, because there's people who work all around the county. If you had 2 people that you worked with that you really didn't like, that you didn't think treated you fairly, do you think you should be allowed to stay home and work and or stay home and collect a paycheck and not show up? Okay. Now, the allegation that I orchestrated this and to coincide with Commissioner Morrison's daughter's wedding is not accurate in any way, shape, or form, and I'll tell you why. Okay. I never expected Commissioner Morrison to show up. She had said that to check her calendar, it's irrelevant to check the calendar because she's not at any of the meetings that are on that calendar, the few that are on the calendar, okay? Now, I walked in on Monday to a work session And, or that morning I was expecting to make the statement that I had made. And the reason I was going to make that statement is we had just finished negotiating the contract with our largest union in this county with absolutely no input from Commissioner Morrison. She didn't show up for a single negotiating meeting with the union. She showed up to one, and she was there for 15 minutes and then left, okay? That entire contract, which is the fundamental responsibility of this office, was negotiated by me and Commissioner Kafferlin alone, okay? I made the decision to make that statement at that meeting long before, okay? The morning of that meeting, somebody comes up to me and says, well, I guess Commissioner Morrison's not going to be at the work session today. Now, I did know that her daughter's wedding was going to be the weekend. I did not know that she had blocked out the entire week to be off, or the Monday afterwards. She had been gone for weeks to begin with. It was a matter of circumstance, okay? So my point is, I'm not going to stand here and try to pretend like I'm perfect, or that the nature of how I laid this out is perfect. If someone has a manual to perfectly, address this kind of a situation, then please bring it forward. My fundamental argument is this. We have a problem in Pennsylvania, okay? It's not with everybody, it's with a handful. There are elected officials in this state, in this county, who get elected to office, and that is the end of the accountability that they feel in that position, okay? There are people that get elected to office and they do not show up to work, okay? Every 4 years they can run a PR campaign and tell the community about how great they are and why they should vote for them, and they get reelected, okay? And it's happened before, and David, you should know that, and there's a number of other people that know that, okay? There's elected officials that do not show up for work, okay? We don't have a legal way of addressing that within the community or within the law. There's no way to walk in and say, this person isn't showing up for work, okay? All we have here is the chairmanship, and I refuse to stand by and let somebody serve in the chairmanship of this county without putting in the hours of work that are required. We have no administrative support. We have to read tons of documents. We have to make a call on opinions on a number of different things. This requires countless hours. The number one thing that we were asked when we were running for office, and everybody else can back me up on this, is, are you going to be a full-time commissioner? Okay, Commissioner Morrison said, I will be a full-time commissioner. She said it repeatedly. Okay, the voters expect a full-time commissioner, at the very least in the chairmanship position. It's not happening. If you, and I know that you can't go, I'm not going to push you to go ask anybody in the courthouse. I would welcome that, but there's no survey that can be done to my knowledge, otherwise it would have been done to this point. The work isn't happening. There's a reason, okay? A lack of effort, a lack of attendance. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, Commissioner Kafferlin, would you like to have the floor?
I will comment at the end, but I think you need to open up for public comment.
No, I'm not done. Okay, unfortunately, I wasn't going to read this, but I am now. I think you all need to hear it.
Get this on the table so it can be settled. Come on, boys.
Okay, this is what we're going to do right now. Okay, I want the public to know that when we three took office in January 2016, Jeff was still employed at Blair. He continued to work for Blair for many months. I only bring this to your attention now due to Jeff's criticism of me, saying I don't put in my hours. I never shed light on his absences, and him not attending to the duties of the office during that time. I was at the courthouse working day and night, learning from our directors, educating myself on department matters, reading important documents, sometimes well into the wee hours of the morning, doing all I could to understand all aspects of the commissioner's role within the county system. Regarding right-to-know forms on the website, Commissioner Eggleston must have thought it was appropriate to include his personal email address for which a citizen would return the written request for information. There was a period of time during December 2016 where the online right-to-know requests that were being submitted by citizens were only being delivered to Commissioner Eggleston's personal email address, Jeff Eggleston Designs. This actually caused a citizen who submitted a right-to-know request to turn our county in to the Department of State Office of Open Records due to the fact that there was no response to his request in the allotted time frame from our Opens Office officer. This is a serious matter, as our county was in violation of the Open Records law. Commissioner Eggleston's excuse for this was that it was just a glitch. For Commissioner Eggleston to state that he and Commissioner Catherland would be more productive with a change of leadership is outlandish. From the beginning of our term, it became increasingly clear to me that the two of them were in lockstep, controlling every situation. Please do not be fooled into believing they are being held back by me. It could not be further from the truth. When Commissioner Catherland states there are two primary principles necessary to follow for a code of conduct to be successful, show up for work and don't bushwhack each other, I can easily explain my case. I do show up for work, and I do not bushwhack them. It is impossible for me to add items to the agenda that would be approved by the two of them. They have made it very clear that it takes 2 out of the 3 commissioners to approve agenda items and also to remove items from the agenda. If you wish to bring up an issue in a public meeting, my only recourse is to bring it up unannounced. Those times have included the following: the Sunshine Law violation, signing the contract with Long and Nyquist without my knowledge. I feel that everyone is up to speed on this issue. However, I would like to add that there is absolutely no proof to support that the lobbyists were instrumental in securing the IGT for the Rouse estate. This is subjective at best. As a point of clarity, there was a $900,000, not $1.6 million, as Jeff has stated in the newspaper, profit realized from the IGT, which does not go into the county's general fund. The profit goes directly to fund Rouse operations. The funding of the IGT went through successfully in 2016 without the assistance of the lobbyists, as they were not on retainer for the county at that time. And it went through this year without them as well. As for the RRC securing Warren as a location for their administrative offices, I do not believe the lobbyists played any role at all in that decision. As a matter of fact, I have it on very good authority that the lobbyists were told to stay out of the matter by a high-ranking elected official, and I know that firsthand. To go further, an RRC board member approached me along with 2 other individuals closely involved with the RRC, asking me if I would be able to get the lobbyists to assist in helping to influence the board to locate the office in Warren. I sent emails to Jeff and Ben asking them to get the lobbyists involved, which went unanswered. Later, discussing this with Jeff, explaining that I had been asked to involve the lobbyists, he stammered a bit, standing in my doorway, and he told me, well, they're already involved, Cindy. He had no idea I had the backstory and that I knew he was not telling me the truth. I added the increase of the bed tax to our meeting agenda against much resistance, and this action precipitated Jeff and Ben's action to require 2 commissioners' approval on agenda items. As a regular attendee of the Warren County Visitors Bureau board meetings, I was asked to address this increase as soon as possible to help assist the board in furthering their efforts in tourism promotion. The motion was tabled after much debate between the commissioners and was brought to a vote only several weeks later, ultimately passing. Before the measure passed, there was a meeting held at the courthouse with the 3 commissioners, the Visitor Bureau Director, and a videographer whom the Warren County Visitor Bureau Board was interested on hiring to produce videos of our county for promotion efforts. At this meeting, Jeff and Ben, in no uncertain terms, gave the director an ultimatum, telling him that if he wanted the bed tax increase, that he would need to relinquish control of the Warren County Visitor Bureau website and allow Jeff and Ben to have much more control over the Visitor Bureau daily operations. The Visitor Bureau director remained very professional and simply explained he wasn't interested in their offer. After a lot of heat from the county citizens, it was passed, and they are receiving the increase to allow them to better serve in their capacity to promote our county outside county limits. They do a fantastic job, and I appreciate everything the staff and their board do for our county. Commissioner Catherland signed a contract for fleet fueling services with Enterprise for all our county vehicles without my knowledge, with his name as the only signature. This was never discussed with me. When I asked him about this at a work session, he denied that he had signed it until I produced a copy of the agreement with his signature. He then stated the service agreement was on pause. However, asking my chief clerk, Enterprise had sent the fuel cards to our chief clerk for distribution to all the county vehicles. This agreement was eventually rescinded, and after several phone calls and consideration on my part, I then initiated discussion at a public meeting to contract with a local employer and business in our community, a long-standing business, the United Refining Company. At a work session which took place in the first half of 2016, we were made aware of a situation for non-payment of real estate taxes of a former commissioner, John Bortz. After the meeting, I went directly to question our tax claim director. He informed me that Bortz had a verbal agreement to pay his late tax bill with the county. A citizen, such as yourself, may make arrangements and sign a payment arrangement agreement. And then you are expected to make payments on specified dates. Bortz never signed an agreement and did not make any payments. I began to ask many questions, as it was fully my intention to get answers. During the course of my inquiry with the director, Commissioner Eggleston walked into the tax claim office and asked if I would step outside into the hallway with him. I did so as a courtesy to him, as I was not done questioning the director. Upon entering the hallway, I was verbally accosted by Eggleston. He became very angry, and he took a step toward me, pointing in my face with his jaws clenched and his teeth baring to state that, and I want you to pay attention, if I ever want to get another, meaning me, if I ever want to get another thing accomplished in my term, I better not continue to make an issue of this situation. He went on and on to say that he would personally see to it that I accomplish absolutely nothing, that he would make my time as a commissioner a living hell. I asked him why he would want to do this for Bortz, and how could he justify this when so many citizens here in our community lose their homes to tax sale. He yelled that this was being done as a courtesy for a former commissioner, and he not only said that once, he said that twice to me. I want you all to know, this is not the first year that this took place to assist Mr. Bortz in non-payment of his taxes. The former tax claim director did this for him as well. This was obviously common practice being repeated. This is absolutely shameful, and I do not condone their actions. This attack on me by Jeff was the first of many to follow. I voted against retaining the services of our current solicitor, Mr. Shreve. I have an opinion. I stated my reasons calmly and distinctly why I opposed hiring him over a well-seasoned veteran attorney with an abundance of municipal and county governance law, a hometown guy who was willing to scale back his private practice to accommodate our county and willing to give us a break on the price for his services, which, by the way, was less than what we currently pay Attorney John Shreve. This should not be construed as a fight. I was simply voting for what I believed would be in the county's best interest and explained my reasons why. The second time the county solicitor issue was put before the board was a vote for when John Shreve was relieved of his duties at the Kinnear Law Firm. This item was thrown on the agenda at the last minute, and the only contract provided in our packet to the public meeting was John Shreve, when attorney Rob Kinnear submitted a contract for consideration as well. I brought this matter to the public's attention and voted no to hiring the current solicitor. The next issue was one that has failed to be in the newspaper, even after I brought it up not just one time at a public meeting, but 2 times at a commissioner work session with a reporter present. This June, we were to conduct the county's judicial sale. But this was canceled due to incorrect paperwork being filed with the court by our county solicitor. This comes at a very high cost to our taxpayers. Notices must be issued to citizens whose property are subject to tax sale. And this is conducted by our sheriff's department. The cost to the taxpayers for this service was $16,000. Due to the necessity to issue these notices once again for the now rescheduled sale, this will cost the taxpayers an additional $16,000. Sheriff Claycamp, who explained to me the process and the costs involved, confirmed this figure to me. He stated it may be a little less, but not a considerable amount less. Upon learning this, a meeting was scheduled to discuss this with solicitor, tax claim director, and all 3 commissioners. When I brought up the fact that this was pure negligence on behalf of the solicitor.
Point of order, that's a human resources issue that should not be brought into a public meeting.
Exactly.
Okay, now the taxpayers will be doubling the bill of $32,000 instead of only $16,000 to conduct the judicial sale. This brought on a barrage of nasty comments aimed at me from Eggleston, Heffernan, and Shreve. They called me stupid and that I had no idea what I was talking about. They laughed at me and belittled me. They blamed the judge for the mistake, saying that the judge should have known the paperwork was filed incorrectly. I spoke with both judges and learned firsthand how the courts handle the filing of this paperwork. The blame lies solely on the shoulders of our solicitor, and the public has a right to know this. The latest issue I brought up at a commissioner's work session was the fact that Ben and Jeff felt it was wise to borrow from our reserved savings account to make a deposit in our general fund instead of borrowing funds from the TAN funds we would typically use for funding our county operations. I brought this up for discussion as I wanted to know their reasons for doing this. I did not bring it up to bushwhack them. It appears strange to me, though, that Eggleston would ask me at that meeting, "What are you trying to insinuate, Cindy?" when all I was doing was asking what their reasons were. Those are the only topics of discussion that I can remember having brought up at commissioners' meetings that they feel compelled to say I am bushwhacking them with. If they feel they are being bushwhacked, In my opinion, it is because they lack transparency. I do my job and feel obligated to shed light on all that is going on that the public should know. Moving on to other topics of interest. Our county directors conduct monthly meetings. I choose to attend infrequently. I feel this meeting gives our directors an opportunity to discuss issues amongst themselves freely without feeling overshadowed by their bosses, the commissioners. If there was something they felt strongly about that they wanted me to attend, they know to ask me to attend. This was not good enough for Jeff and Ben. At the beginning of 2017, the directors held a meeting, an organizational meeting, electing their new officials. The public defender was the current president and expressed interest in maintaining that position. Before the matter could be voted upon, Commissioner Kafferlin stated he wanted the position, and because no one felt comfortable expressing how they truly felt about this unusual change of events, he became the new chairman for our director meetings. I want to mention, these are our county directors, and the meetings are for them. Ben is not a director. Ben is an executive. He is not management level staff. We hire county directors to depend on their input and their direction, as they are the experts in their fields. To me, this is representative of true micromanagement and an unwillingness to yield any authority. I can back up that and believe a conversation took place in a county vehicle driving home from a Northwest Commissioner meeting held at the Kinzu Bridge Visitor Center. Ben spoke of how the directors lacked discipline and focus, and it was necessary for him to take the chair position so that the meetings would be more productive. At one director's meeting, when Ben was unable to attend, Jeff chaired that meeting. During discussion led by Jeff, he admonished the staff by telling them that there was too much bad-mouthing going on around the courthouse and among employees, and the need to stop rumors. The meeting was adjourned. Then Jeff spoke to the group saying how he was sorry for all the drama being reported on in the newspaper, and he hoped that the employees were not being upset by all the negativity being put out there by Commissioner Morrison, and that he and Ben could not trust Commissioner Morrison, and that it was simply impossible to work with her. Obviously, Jeff doesn't follow the rules he expects his staffers to adhere to. The Knox Law Firm handles county labor issues. I emailed a request for assistance on 3 separate employee matters. The attorney handling the matter emailed his response to all 3 commissioners. Jeff and Ben were upset with me for not having used our county solicitor. Jeff sent off a reply email to the Knox attorney telling him in no short order that in the future, unless he has approval from at least one other commissioner, he is not to perform any work for the county. He went on to tell him that my role as chairman does not give me the authority to act unilaterally. The very next day, we had a conference call with the 2 attorneys that I had emailed requesting information. During the phone call, one of the attorneys explained why I had been consulting them and shed light on the situation that should have been easily explained had Jeff only asked me. Later, Jeff came to me and apologized, saying that he had been hasty in his actions and that he would make sure to send everyone an email letting them to know he acted inappropriately. I have yet to receive that email, and this took place during mid-year 2016. Jeff and Ben state I do not take part in important meetings. I completely disagree, and I contend that that is an untrue statement. Let me run down the list. COG. Ben told us at a work session meeting that he intended on attending the COG meetings anyway, so he would attend the meetings and report back to Jeff and me. They make it seem that I intentionally do not attend these meetings. If a supervisor was upset with me for not attending, that supervisor should have addressed the issue with me directly, not Jeff and Ben. I'm speaking. Thank you. Union negotiation meetings. Our chief clerk sent us all an email stating that from her past experience with union negotiations, commissioners are not required to attend the meetings, that the attorney will handle the process. She claimed one commissioner could attend if they were interested, but that if they did, they were to let the attorney handle the negotiations. I have this in an email to back this up. I chose not to attend these meetings. I did, however, attend 2 separate meetings with union stewards regarding their contract wish list. I again attended another meeting during the negotiations. IDA. During last year's budget discussions, I was interested in reconstituting the Industrial Development Authority in order to provide this board a larger role in potential economic development. After bringing this initiative to Jeff and Ben, it was clear they had no desire to help me advance this effort. Jeff actually told me that this effort of mine isn't going to go anywhere because Ben and he did not agree with me. This effort would have taken the $40,000 of taxpayers' money away from the WCCBI to fund the IDA. My position on this is unwavering. Taxpayers should expect accountability from the WCCBI for how they spend the $40,000 that the taxpayers give them. This group holds private meetings that the public is not permitted to attend. Their financial situation is also kept private. I have made it clear, very clear, I have no intention of attending their meetings until they open them up to the public. I believe this to be an ethical issue and a gray area regarding the Sunshine Law when 2 commissioners attend voting on issues. I have scheduled and invited my fellow commissioners to attend different meetings that they have chosen to not be involved with. These meetings have included several different county directors, state officials, and constituents. I believe their lack of interest displays their lack of ability to work together as a board. As an example, I had several meetings regarding development of a work release center. This initiative was under my supervision with several county directors directly involved. Another meeting that I scheduled last year for directors was with Attorney Mark Wassel to give a presentation to the county directors to help them understand the new version of the overtime laws that was to take effect. I met with great resistance from both Jeff and Ben on this, as they felt this would only further confuse the directors and cause more problems for the commissioners. I disagreed and went forward with the meeting. Many directors thanked me for holding the informational session and were grateful to have had such detailed information provided to them. There have been countless meetings scheduled by Jeff that are routinely canceled by Jeff. I have copies of the emails that prove this. I have shown up for meetings too many times to count that have been canceled without alerting me. I refuse to go to unnecessary meetings that Jeff schedules just to keep himself busy. This is a waste of time for everyone involved and takes directors away from the important work they do for the county. Jeff initiated the Coffee with the Commissioners meeting, and when the invitations went out to the county employees, the invitation was written by Jeff, signed by Jeff, and did not include Catherine or myself. Included in the invitation, it clearly states that there may only be one commissioner in attendance. I attended one of the coffees and attempted to attend the very next coffee, which was canceled by Jeff unbeknownst to me. I believe the employees have a very good understanding that I have their backs and the backs of all the citizens of Warren County. As for the county Christmas dinner, this was an idea I brought to the other 2 commissioners, as I thought this would be an ideal morale booster and would show our appreciation of the work they do for our county. This was quickly taken over by Jeff, leaving me with little input into any decisions made, as his word was final. I felt it was easier to let him have his way than to argue about something that was supposed to have been a fun event. I chose not to attend and have been told that Commissioner Cafferlin did not attend either. I did contribute by paying for a gift basket provided from the Commissioner's office. These things are trite and ridiculous and not worth mentioning, but I am being called out on these petty issues, so I am defending myself. When our fiscal director was shopping around for supplies of gas and electric to contract with for the county, I scheduled a meeting with the National Fuel Resources agent and invited the 2 other commissioners, Pam and Judy, to attend. Jeff and Ben decided to skip this meeting. Working with this agent, we put together an agreement that would ultimately save the county a considerable amount of gas in supply costs over the next 3 years. The agreement was added to the meeting agenda, but failed to pass as Jeff and Ben had questions that they felt I was not answering them correctly. They proceeded to schedule another meeting with the agent, who had to travel back to Warren County again to give the 2 of them the same presentation that she had given previously that they felt was unimportant to attend. Interestingly, the answers I had given them were indeed correct, and the agreement was approved at the next meeting. Unbeknownst to Jeff and Ben, our chief clerk overheard a conversation between the 2 of them that she relayed to me. She told me that the 2 of them were sitting in Jeff's office speaking very badly about me, calling me stupid, and that I did not have a clue of what I was doing. She went on about how upsetting this was to her, and that they would talk so disgracefully about a fellow commissioner, and that she thought this was just wrong and inappropriate behavior. One evening, Jeff, Ben, and I were in my office, and we were discussing single point of entry and how the sheriff was very interested in implementing this within the courthouse. Jeff was offering his reasons why he felt that the employees having key fobs to enter at multiple sites of the building, that anyone could obtain entry if they were intent to do so. I suggested this would only be possible if an employee were allowed to enter and to allow someone to enter with them. And I felt that most staff would be diligent in their use of the fobs. Ben stared at me with disdain. In his voice, it told me, in that with the voice of disdain, told me that with the training he has had, he could easily snap my neck with his 2 hands. I'm not sure how any of you feel about this statement, but I felt threatened. Jeff and Ben have made me feel personally violated in many ways. Ben has slammed doors when angry, shut the door in my face. Jeff has screamed at me and actually bared his teeth like a dog with saliva dripping from his mouth in anger at me. All this because I dare disagree with them and stand up to them. I find them to be misogynists, and I believe there are others in the courthouse who would wholeheartedly agree with me. I am forced to work in a highly toxic environment with the 2 of them. I do feel unsafe, and when I am at the courthouse, I never know when the next round of abuse will level itself on me from one of them. Our fiscal director is responsible for crafting our county budget. At the executive level, being county commissioners, we should be turning to our fiscal director for advice on our budget. This director, as our manager, should be discussing budgets within the various departments, and then report back to the commissioners the findings she has and the suggestions on how to correct budget shortfalls within departments or the management of adjusting line items throughout the year. Unfortunately, Jeff and Ben believe they are the architects of the budget and attempt to micromanage every aspect of the process without having the expertise or the know-how to do so. We should be relying on our seasoned directors with years of experience in their fields to provide the information necessary to us so that we can make informed decisions. It is very frustrating for our directors to be made to feel like they are working under a microscope never knowing when the next warning will be issued for what the two of them deem to be insubordination. Their method of leadership is appalling and unconscionable, dictatorial and petty, making false accusations and putting politics above the people. Attorney Michelle Alasky was appointed county solicitor early on in our term. I supported this appointment and cannot begin to say enough about her integrity as an attorney and the excellent job she did for Warren County. I recognize her to be intelligent, informed, involved, compassionate, and understanding, to state just a few of her fine qualities. We could not have asked for a better attorney to represent our county as our solicitor. It did not take long for Jeff, with Ben in tow, to realize she was very bright and knew her stuff. She would stand her ground with them on legal matters that she knew should not be compromised. They took exception to her advice, and Jeff became very aggressive and argumentative with her on almost every occasion that we met with her. She would explain that as a board, we have decision-making power. She was serving us in the capacity of informing us on the laws. It was ultimately up to us whether or not we chose to follow her advice. Jeff yelled at her during one meeting, telling her that he signs her checks and that she works for him, and she needed to remember that. She corrected him by letting him know that the county was her client, that the county contracted work to be done by her on their behalf, that she indeed was not his employee. Jeff told her that just because she is an attorney doesn't mean she's correct, that he has been to several doctors who think they are correct, but they are not. The lack of respect he displays to our contracted professionals, our employees, our directors, others, myself, is simply appalling. He is by no means a leader or a professional. He should simply be ashamed of himself for his actions. Attorney Alasky resigned as our solicitor, and it was a very sad moment for me during my first year in office. I was very sorry to see her leave. However, I was not surprised at all. Attorney Alasky did not reveal in her resignation letter her reasons for leaving. PCN had a presentation on their network the other day that focused on recovery from addiction, and I noticed Jeff addressed the crowd on the state Capitol Rotunda steps. Just leaping through the channels, I saw there's Jeff. I tuned in. I listened briefly, long enough to hear him crow about being the only commissioner in the state who was once an inmate in the county jail but now actually manages the jail. Warden John Collins, I commend you for the management of the Warren County Jail and believe you do an excellent job as the manager. Thank you. The next thing I heard Jeff talk about was forgiveness. I had to wonder if he was truly capable of knowing what true forgiveness is all about. I learned long ago to forgive others for the wrongs I perceive they have cast upon me. I don't forgive for their sake. I forgive for myself, to bring solace and peace into my life. Maybe Jeff needs to ponder the meaning of forgiveness so he can let go of the pent-up anger that he lashes out at me and anyone else who gets in his way. Ben decided it was necessary to conduct instructional classes for our directors. During one of these classes, he instructed our directors on who have worked longer for the county than he has lived life, how to correctly label file folders. I will stop there. Recently, Warren County submitted a grant request to further advance the Jake's Rocks Trails third developmental phase. As chair, I signed the grant application. I received an email from a DCED official explaining that if the commissioners wanted to replace the chair as the official in charge of the grant management, that a new signature would be needed and approval of the board to appoint the designee. Ben and Jeff removed me as the person who would oversee this project. Ben has replaced me on that grant. I believe this action speaks for itself and the intentions of my fellow commissioners all along to replace me as chairman. And that's the end of my statement. So are we ready to move on the question?
Oh, you have public comment.
Public comment. I will open it up to public comment. Would anyone like? Mr. Scully, please.
Commissioner Morrison, I'm that individual that you're referring to that asked you to attend COG meetings. You have been in office almost 2 years. You have yet to be at a council of government meeting. I even called you personally when the council of government meeting was held right here in the Jackson Court. And you didn't show up.
I do not recall that phone call,
12 times to show up. The municipalities throughout the county know the two other commissioners. A lot of them aren't too sure who you are. All I ever asked was to show. I didn't ask you to be on the agenda or nothing, but make your presence to the council of government. That's all I asked you.
Joe, I honestly don't recall the phone call. But if
You
you're
have
saying,
to remember
but
one out of 12.
you didn't call me 12 times.
Yes, I did, Cindy.
Well, that's your word against mine, I guess, and the people can choose to believe what they wish. I find, Joe, that you are very involved in local government, and I appreciate all that you do for local government. And I do know that the COG does have an organized group of people and municipalities, and not all those municipalities choose to attend the COG meetings. I have explained myself that Ben offered to attend those meetings, and I do believe, speaking to you in the hallway downstairs one day, I explained that to you. So that is, in my defense, I don't think it's necessary for me to attend the COG. I would expect Commissioner Catherland to report back to us. As he has made the claim, he will attend and get back to us.
I've been asked by other municipalities when I was supervisor, could you ask Commissioner Morrison to attend the council of government meeting? I said I would, as a legislator, pusher of the COG. That's why I called you. All I asked you to do was come to one meeting so that the individuals in the municipalities that are supervisors and other positions.
I'll go one better, Joe.
Yeah.
I will start attending their public meetings,
I hope you do.
and I will do that. And you all heard it here. Okay, anyone else? Would anyone else like to comment?
Yes, I would have, please.
Thank you. Mr. Dan Ristoff?
Thank you, as I've expressed online, on Facebook, on Just Post, I'm so very disappointed in the way this got handled. Had the two commissioners, Edison and Kaplan, had this many issues with Mrs. Morrison, you should have sat her down in the back room and explained her opinions going around here. This barrage in the newspaper and online, just running advertisement on Facebook, is so unprofessional, it's embarrassing. I'm not carrying water for Cindy Morrison. I hardly know her. My conversations, I've had more conversations, I know Jeff Edison better than any of you. I've had fewer conversations with Mr. Kaplan. So I'm not here to protect her or anything else. I don't know her that well. And as I said about the accusations, I can't speak to her about her time in office and any of that. But this whole matter is so unprofessional, it's embarrassing. And the two of you need to be ashamed of yourselves. Jeff, I barely know you anymore. I hardly know you anymore. And that day you came into my business, after I made a presentation in this courthouse, you were every bit of what she described, a person spitting at me with anger and telling me my services were not needed because you and Kaplan had it under control. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And then shortly after that, I get a call from this courthouse, from an employee in this courthouse, telling me that the whole time I'm giving a presentation to the commissioners, that Ben and Jeff are rolling their eyes and making faces at one another. Grow up, boys, for God's sakes. And then I have an employee of this courthouse on the street in front of my business telling me that one of you took him behind his office door and slammed that door and threatened him. So what Cindy's talking about here has validity to it. You two have no right to do what you're doing today. You have no right to overrule the voters in this town. You should be ashamed of yourselves. And then you remain so silent behind all this, that you're a part of it. The two of you have ganged up on this lady over and over and over. And you damn well know it. And it's shameful. Okay? What I wrote to you this morning on that private message meant for you to think about. I do not know you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rista. Is there anybody else? Please rise and state your name.
Callie Williams. I've followed politics most of my life, ever since I was a young little girl. Cindy, I voted for you because I was proud to think that we could have a woman that would step forward and decide to come in. But I'm sick that, this isn't all about rainbows and unicorns for any one of you. Okay, here's the way I'm thinking. And quite frankly, I don't know what you felt it was going to be, but it is a thing of, I don't know, because we're getting he says, she says, she says, he says. You can have that whole packet that you just went over and you just spoke over about all of this stuff. How do we know your inside surfaces of people are telling you the right thing? We already know all that kind of crap from the federal government where we say it. He says, she says, you say. I'm a woman. I was glad that I voted a woman in, and a woman who was the chairman, okay? And if you're not strong enough to deal with two bunch of little boy puppies like this, then you know what? In my opinion, maybe you, I don't know. I think all of you need to just grow up, for one thing. But when you talk about forgiveness, when you were talking about that, I had to forgive a lot of people, boy, that I would just let the pound right into the ground. But because I'm a Christian, and I believe that, if I don't forgive somebody, then the Lord's not going to forgive me. You know what? So each and one of you, Ben, Cindy, Jack, each one of you kids got to quit bantering against each other. You need to get together and you need to do your job. And you, Cindy, walking away from it,
I don't think that
where's your strength at, Cindy? Where's your strength at? You're a woman. Be proud to be where you're at. Be proud that them women and men were voting you into office. Shame on all of you.
Can I
shame,
comment?
Shame. Sure.
I would like to comment back to you, Callie. I don't know how much stronger I can be. When I bring up these issues that are very difficult issues to address in public meetings, because the two of them work behind closed doors and do not include me in their conversations, I don't know what more you expect from me, Callie. I have brought up issues that are important, that are not being discussed. Absolutely. Do you read the newspaper? It's covered in the newspaper. I'm certainly not implying that, Kelly. It has been well documented that I have brought them out on the Sunshine Law violation. If you think that was an easy situation for me, you are highly mistaken. I have defended our county in regard to an illegal transfer of funds regarding the IGT. And the only reason I did not put that in my statement is because it is very difficult for the public to understand, but I will gladly sit down with anyone who would like to understand that situation better. I cannot tell you, Callie, how many times, as a strong woman, very proud of my role as chairman, that I have been able to bring to light situations that were not covered and they had no intention of covering. So I take a little bit of offense to say that you expect me to be strong. I don't know how much stronger of an individual I could be.
Did you not swear in to take this position?
I absolutely did.
All right, then you stay strong until the end.
Absolutely, and I
strong
intend
until the end. You have let your guard down. You have let them.
No. No. You don't know the process, Callie. It's always 2 against 1.
It's always going to be that way. It's not always going to go your way or Ben's way or Jeff's way.
What would you expect me to do then? What would be your answer to that? How would you handle that, Kelly?
How would I handle that? I guess number one, I would be going around and talking to my constituents and saying, here's some issues we got going on here. What do you think about this?
And how do you know
What
I'm
do
not
you
doing
think
that?
about that?
I am doing that.
Well, I don't see anything, a lot of times we get a lot of that information, we see that in the newspaper. Why don't you ever report the stuff that you do in the newspaper? Because I don't hear much of you. The one big thing I saw was this great, big, huge thing that you paid for on the,
Yeah.
on the guide.
That was a means to get my voice out there, because the newspaper doesn't always report everything that occurs in a meeting, Callie. And if you run for office, you will quickly find that.
I'm not just attacking you. Did you hear I said Ben?
I know.
Cindy, Jeff, it's
Yes.
time for you all to grow up. We're
Absolutely.
sick and tired enough of what's going on the federal issue, okay? And it takes all three of you to do that. Not one, but three, okay? And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Callie. I appreciate your comments. Please, Chuck. Chuck Gray.
Chuck Gray. I got to know Commissioner Morrison through her work at Kathy Rack's office, and it was very helpful in the work at Southern Library Theater Room. I met Commissioner Eccleston years back before he was a commissioner, and he volunteered so many hours to an entrepreneurship class that I taught at Warren Forest High, already doing things for the community. I just met Doug Hackerlin in the last couple of years, and
Actually, I taught a couple of those classes a few years ago.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, that's out of there. And I've gotten to know him better through his efforts to develop resources for entrepreneurs locally. Both Commissioner Eccleston and Commissioner Hackerlin asked me to serve as a volunteer on a marketing task force for the county. There are 7 of us on this task force, and we were assembled to research and recommend marketing projects. Through this work, I feel I've gotten to know both of them a little better. I feel they have strong vision for the county and an immense capacity for work. As a volunteer participating in this process, I'm excited for the opportunity to contribute, and I'm confident. This is the point I'm confident in today. Our commissioners will find a way to work together. And as I look at the agenda and see 6 items untouched, I know the public needs space to comment, and I'm not going to shut that down, but I trust you guys to work this out and keep the business of our county going. So I don't know if there's a possibility of moving on with the agenda items and solving this later, but that would be my recommendation.
I just say I agree with her statement, and thank you so much for saying that. I think you need to table this, sit down in a room by yourselves, and handle this behind closed doors. It's an embarrassment to our county, and I don't like scolding you. I like all 3 of you that have done it. Let's end this right now, table it, meet afterwards, and work out in Parliament. Please. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Mr. Eggleston?
John Eggleston, former commissioner. I'd like to say a couple of things. A lot of this is he said, she said, and in any situation like that, you try to determine the truthfulness of people. Cindy, I will tell you, I don't know you very well. I know who you are, obviously, from your time with Commissioner, or with Representative Ratt. For 12 years, 13 years, you were, in fact, a spokesman for the Green Estate. You were their lead. And yet, my last year in office, just after you declared candidacy, we got a letter from an attorney saying you had been mistakenly identified with the Green Estate. One of my first experiences when I ran for office was going to a forum at the Republican headquarters where you were in fact a spokesman for the Green Estate.
Absolutely.
And you were the Green Estate for 12 years. Then all of a sudden you weren't.
No,
because
that's
you
not
were running for
how it
office. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
That's exactly what happened.
All right. I'll let you have your say.
So the question is, do you only tell the truth when it's convenient for you?
Oh, are you
Now, I will
expecting
tell
an
you
answer?
this.
Okay.
I will tell you this. my first term in office, my fellow commissioner, I guess he left, Commissioner Bauer, wanted to remove the aforementioned John Borst as chairman. At that time, I decided I didn't want to support that. John was in fact doing the job. He was there, and we didn't do anything. And when I was elected for my second term, I argued what has been argued here, that I was the chief, the first place finisher, so I should be chairman, when my two colleagues named one of them their own. Okay? I've regretted ever since that I never confronted Commissioner Borst, because he in fact didn't do his job for the last 8 years he was in office. And maybe if I made the public stink that's been made, it's a shame you have to do things that way. But when it's possible to not do the job and put the stink on your fellow commissioners, as you have attempted to do, then something needs to be done. Taxpayers need to know who's doing the job and who isn't.
I agree.
And it's a shame, yes, that this has to come to this. In an ideal world, the three commissioners would all get along, everything would go smoothly. It's my experience over 12 years that in the vast majority of cases you do agree, because the stuff you're dealing with isn't controversial. It's the business of the county. It needs to be taken care of. And that includes negotiating with unions, taking care of the budget, and doing the day-to-day operations. And if you're not in the office, you can't do that. And I know you say, well, I'm available, I have the phone, and I have this, and I have that. But the fact is, people aren't going to call you if you're not there. In 12 years in office, I received maybe a half a dozen phone calls at home. And that's because I was in the office every day during working hours, and I was out at the COG meeting, and I was out at the township supervisors meetings. And I was out and about, and I know Jeffrey's been doing the same thing. I can't speak to the two of you because I don't know. But I'm telling you that the person in that office needs to be here and needs to know what they're doing and needs to do it. However you work this out, I agree, this is no way to do business.
Okay, I would like to clarify a few of the points that I've been accused of by Mr. Eggleston. First of all, yes, I was the Green Estate spokesperson during the land deal issue. And the letter he's referring to that he received in his last term of office was a letter stating that I am no longer the executive assistant for the Green Estate executors. And I have an executor sitting right here in the front row who can confirm this. And I have the letter to prove it.
The letter said you had been mistakenly identified
as the appointee on the tax notices. The tax notices. The only reason I was identified on those tax notices was because Diane had a post office box and they came to my address. That is the reason, Mr. Eggleston. Please don't try to twist the truth. And, I would like to clarify with our Chief Clerk, PEMA, who has told me that in your last 4-year term, that you were rarely at the office, that you did not show up for work, and that they had to call to remind you of the meetings, and that you were always 10 to 15 minutes late.
5 minutes.
Okay. She is the one who told me that, Mr. Eggleston. So, the pot calling, the so-called kettle black, I do my job. And I am here to do my job. Would anyone else like to comment? Okay.
I would like to
state your name, please.
David Morrison. My wife and I, after the primary, sat down and had dinner with Ben Kaplan to discuss the smear campaign that was going on. The nasty rumors that was being spread about my wife. His statement to us was, I am sorry, Cindy, that I hurt you, but I am not sorry because it got me where I'm at. That was his statement.
Well, you can verify that. Ask him if he denies that. That's not he said, she said. He's sitting right here. Ask him.
It was years ago. I don't remember now.
Oh, of course.
Madam Commissioner?
Yes.
If you three remember one time there was a slight discussion not as serious as this at a work session.
Mhm.
And I stood up and I said, "You're worse than my kindergarten class.
I do recall that.
Quit being kindergarten people. Get in a room and settle your problems. You're making an ass of yourselves, all three of you. And I like all of you. I've worked with all of you. But this is pure ridiculous.
Mhm.
We have yet to cover the meeting. I suggest you reschedule your commissioners meeting because it's now 1:15 and the kindergarten class is ready to go to first grade, I hope."
I just want another thing. I think the question is how the three of you, how can you break up the Jeff and Ben working, this appearance, I should say, of Jeff and Ben working together, running off with everything? Why can't you include Cindy as a courtesy? What's gone on there that you can't open that door and keep it open and work together? I would assume that Ben and Cindy would work on things together, that Jeff and Cindy would work on things together, Jeff and Ben, and so on and so forth. But we seem to be locked in this 2 against 1. And it's got to end, guys. Please cancel the meeting and sit down and work this out for the good of your county.
We have a motion on the floor. I'd like to call the question.
I actually had a minor prepared statement. It was actually only 2 paragraphs.
Oh, God.
It's honestly only 2 paragraphs.
I give the Commissioner or Kaplan the floor.
Thank you. You're right that no one looks good in this. But we need to recognize that we still have another 2 years together. And despite our differences, we need to commit to working with each other. That takes humility. And now we have business to conduct. We've already wasted too much time, too much column inches in the newspaper on this. And the time for passive interest in the job is over. The county needs our leadership, and to do that, we need to restore decorum. We can all lead, and no one is going to get shut out from the opportunity to use their position as commissioner. I think I've accomplished a lot as vice chair, and I think I will probably be serving as chair in a couple minutes. So I'm sure that you can also do a lot with the vice chairmanship. To move forward, I think we need to be civil towards one another. And it's the chair's job to set the example and maintain peace, order, and decorum at these meetings to prevent bickering and keep business moving. I think that I can effectively do that. You all may have seen this book before. I got you a couple copies signed by the author. It's by Jeff Coleman, who's a former state representative and lives down in Harrisburg. He wrote this book entitled, With All Due Respect, Recovering the Manners and Civility of Political Combat. I just wanted to read one paragraph. This little book is a request for its readers to reconsider the value of meekness and humility in public life. It's a call to recognize those who don't automatically crave applause or seek personal legacy. It's a plea to those who are quiet, reflective, measured, kind, and gracious, to bring their balancing virtues to our public debate. I respect both of you, mostly because you're made in the image of God. And therefore, I think that I need to be humble with you, and you need to be humble with us, and treat each other with respect. As chair, I promise that meetings like this will not happen. That's all I have.
Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor?
I think you're being tone deaf, Ben. You're not listening to what and we'll put it up to a poll for the community. They're going to tell you that we don't want to see this happen today. You're being tone deaf here. We're telling you to go back and figure out how to make this work. You are equally responsible in this mess here, sir. And even though you try to hide from it and pretend like you're not part of it, you are a much part of it. In fact, you yourself could have put an end to this long ago. You're being tone deaf here and going forward with this vote. And if you go forward with it, excuse me.
This meeting is out of order.
Excuse me. Dan Rissa has the floor.
I'm sorry I don't have a son to protect here. I told your son this morning exactly how I feel about this. I do not know your son anymore whatsoever. The way he spoke to me, the way he spoke to people in this courthouse, and everything else going on. There's a lot of truth to it. And Mr. Kaplan, you've had the ability to put a rein on this, and you haven't. because you've used this for your own means of getting ahead. And you're being tone deaf here. Nobody wants you to be chair. We voted Cindy to be chair.
Yes.
You understand that, sir?
You have less
Thank you.
than 100 votes difference. I'm not sure about that.
It
And
still
besides,
is 100 votes.
the county code does
Doesn't
not
matter.
specify
They're
that.
being tone
Okay,
deaf.
okay.
Call the
Order,
question.
order,
Debate.
please. Order, please. Mr. Farnsworth, is it?
Yes. Well, I'm Lance Farnsworth, and wanted to speak up for Cindy. I like her being a chair of the meeting. She did get the most votes, and several of you said that we need to work, that she needs to work together, and this woman over here said that. I think maybe you should support her and maybe use your strength to support Cindy. She needs help, and she's like half the size of these guys. I don't like seeing anybody bullying a woman. I don't care who she is. You should not bully them. I don't care how big the woman is. You shouldn't do that. But what Cindy is doing is justice. The Sunshine Act. She's exposing what these guys are doing. She's telling us. How else would anybody know? I wish the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Wolf, would have someone in his office that would do that same thing. We don't see that anywhere. Thank God justice is coming to the courthouse, the Warren County Courthouse. And I think that Cindy needs to be applauded for that. She's bringing about justice. She recognizes the law. These are not just suggestions. Oh, it's a nice little suggestion, the Sunshine Law. It's a law. She's trying to uphold it with her strength, and people need to support her. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I move to terminate debate.
I'll second.
I'll call the question. All in favor of removing Commissioner Morrison as chair, please state aye.
Aye.
Point of
Yeah, that
point
was
of
not
clarity,
the
that's not the
motion.
motion. The motion was to make Commissioner Cafferlin chairman and to make Commissioner Morrison vice chair.
Oh, I amend the call of question, as Jeff has stated. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Thank you. Motion carries 2-1.
County government just moved back 6 months of the year. It's a sad situation. How many county commissioners, like it or not, Commissioner Morrison is the chairman? The procedure always is the highest voter getter, and the election got the chairmanship. We are moving back.
Mr. Scully, you only have another few seconds.
That's all
Please
right
wrap it
then,
up.
but you listen, I like all three of them. I've dealt with them quite a bit. It's a shame for me to sit here and see this, and we have yet to cover the agenda.
We're going to move on to the agenda right now. Do I hear a motion for approval of the August 23rd minutes?
Having reviewed the August 23rd minutes, I approve or make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
I second.
Any discussion? Amendments? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Fiscal report.
General fund has $1,488,283.72. Hearing fund, general fund account, $129,915.33 for a grand total of $1,618,199.05. Coming out of the general fund account this week, we have the payroll of a total of $277,035.03. Healthcare payment coming out this week, $43,410.99, leaving a projected balance in the general fund of $1,167,837.70.
Any questions for the fiscal director? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to approve the fiscal report.
I'll make the motion.
Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
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 Who would like to bring up the prescription systems credit application for purchasing? Is that the warden? Or are you familiar with it?
I'll
Next contract.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the credit application document that's been presented.
For Systems Inc.?
for Systems Inc.
Seconded.
Any discussion?
This application is just simply, it's basically going to provide a service for the jail where they have another means to keeping track of medications within the jail, and basically this will allow them to have a single board that basically has all of the medication information on it. It's pretty simple.
The motion to is approve the credit application from Systems Inc. Any further discussion? Very well. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the Government Software Services Agreement. Who's going to present on that?
You, Mr. Chair.
I'll make a motion to approve the Government Software Service Agreement for GSS systems.
Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Any discussion?
So we have a lot of different, we do a lot of different work with GSS. They're basically a company that handles our systems associated with assessment and also with tax claim. In this particular case, this is a contract to handle homestead, farmstead, the correspondence, and handling the database systems and a number of other things related to assessment. This is something that we use routinely. We've had a lot of good reaction from our director of assessment on this particular issue, and she very much supports us continuing with them as our provider for that.
Anything else? Very well. The motion is to approve the Government Software Services Agreement. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is Resolution 3089, the DUI Grant Application Approval.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 3089, which is basically authorizing a grant application for funds that will be used to support the DUI enforcement team.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
This is a routine grant application, and this provides additional funding in order to provide for DUI task force efforts, including DUI checkpoints and a number of other things, equipment.
Any further discussion? The motion is on approval of Resolution 3089. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Next is the Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency Emergency Management Performance Grant Agreement. This is a standard PEMA agreement that we approve. Any discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Emergency Management Agency grant for the federal fiscal year of 2017.
Do I hear a second?
I second it.
Any discussion? Mr. Lake was not able to make it to this meeting, but it's standard, so I don't have anything to add. Any other discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Approval of the Medical Assistance Transportation Program Grant Agreement.
Make a motion to approve the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Department of Human Services Bureau of Managed Care Operations Medical Assistance Transportation Program Grant Agreement and assurance of compliance.
I hear a
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this?
This is essentially, obviously this is with Department of Human Services. This is a grant program that helps support transportation for persons with disabilities in the community. This grant will help us function with the TALK and other organizations that provide transportation. Again, it's a formality.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. The last thing on our scheduled agenda is approval of the fiscal year 2017-2018. What is the MATP amount? Oh, Medical Assistance Transportation Program Grant. Oh, this is the compendium, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the Medical Assistance Transportation Program Grant Agreement.
I second that.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Note CYS. Citizen concerns. As a point of order, due to the time, let's limit comments to only 2 minutes, and since we have discussed at length the chairmanship, we will not be discussing that. But if you have anything further to bring to the meeting, you may have up to 2 minutes. Mr. Pascuzzi?
Hi. I'm usually brief. I usually follow you. My name is Paul Pascuzzi. If you don't know me, I'm a member of the Council of Governments, which is also known as, officially known as the Intergovernmental Co-op. I'm chairman of the Fire Services Committee. And we recently, I have good news. Who wants good news? Right, everyone wants good news. We recently held a public safety fair at Lowe's that was an outstanding, huge success. And I'm here to thank the county commissioners for their support for the COG project, as well as the public safety director, Todd Lake, and his staff. I think they need to be recognized as doing some really good work for our community in support of the COG Fire Services Committee. Also, I'd like to thank the agencies that participated, including the over a dozen volunteer fire departments who took their Saturday to meet with the community. And the support of community support was off the charts. It was an outstanding event, and I think that we'll have a very successful public safety day next year, and look forward to working with commissioners and public safety next year. Thank you.
May I have the floor?
Sure.
I would like to thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you for bringing some positivity to this meeting today.
Would you like more?
No, that's good. But thank you, Mr. Pascuzzi.
I think it was a very big success.
Speech in 12 years ago.
True.
They need this to.
All right. Any other public comments not involving the chair?
Callie again. I just want to say, guys, girls, please, people, let's put down our gauntlets, because you know what? Look at where this nation is right now. Look at and think about what we have to offer our people here. And look at the people. I have family in Texas. I have family in Florida. I have family in the Carolinas. And I have done nothing but fret about where things in life is going with them, you know? You know, it's not just you guys. We talk about the first responders. You guys are our first responders, you know? It's not easy. I know it's not easy to be a woman in a man's world. Trust me. I worked for my father for 25 years, and oh man, I'm telling you what, it was Punch and Judy the whole time.
This isn't my first rodeo.
You know, I know. It just doesn't get, you know what? It's not about, and don't take this personal, it's not about you guys, although it seems that way, because, like, I'll say, Dad, you're offended. Cindy, you're offended. Jeff, you're offended. And consequently, the county's offended, you know? We don't need that. We don't need that with all that's going on, and there's enough of it on the federal end of it, you know? So, I have faith. I keep praying about this whole thing because I'm so sick and tired of everybody. Not just you guys, you know? Mashing and gnashing all the time. To the point of where I'm just thinking, I don't know, maybe I'll go somewhere else and live. Everything else, you can't even go over to the big pond because, you know, you've got all kinds of problems going on there too. So, for us, for you, to make life better and make life simple, just you gotta come together in faith. You know what I'm saying? You know, you're not gonna all agree. That's just the point. You know, and that's the hardest thing, especially for me. I mean, I'm an old hard knock person. I won't shut up. I won't tell people. I'll just keep. You know, I'm a finger pointer. So,
thank you.
Just please get together. You know, for
Appreciate
your
that.
sake. Your sake.
Anyone else?
For your sake, then we can feel comfortable.
All right. Anyone else? Mr. Paris.
As one of the directors for the county, and I speak strictly for myself as a director, I do appreciate seeing the commissioners at the department head meetings. Cindy, I would hope that you would join, because a lot of times we discuss stuff for the county that nothing can happen if the commissioners are not there to help pass it through the system.
I want you to understand, though, why I don't attend. I feel it's a time for you all to get together and to talk about things without being under the microscope, or to be feeling like you can't speak candidly at the meetings with your bosses present. And that is what I feel. If I hear from the directors that they feel otherwise, and they wish for me to attend all the meetings, I will do so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner comments, updates?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second that. Used to being the chair. Sorry.
Any discussion? All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned at 1:34.